Okay, you guys, so today we are going to talk about 2.3 standard form. All right, 3 new learning targets. So we're going to calculate and write the equation of a line in standard form, given different types of information, graph a line in standard form, and then rewrite equations into the other forms. So you've had 2 different forms so far. We've had slope-intercept. So that was the one that you were the most familiar with. Y equals mx plus b. Then we had point slope, okay, where it was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, okay? And now we're going to have standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. And again, just like we talked about in the other lessons, the only parts that you are variables that you're not going to fill in anything for are x and y. So an example of this would be like 3x plus 2y equals 6. That's what it will look like with numbers in those places. Just like this guy over here looks like y equals 2x minus 6. And this one is y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 4, or something like that. So again, if you'll notice, x and y are the only variables that stay every time, okay? Everything else changes to a number. So there are 3 rules that you need to know when rewriting into standard form, and they are listed for you here. X and y are always to be on the same side of the equal sign. So if you notice up here, x and y are on one side together and your constant is on the other, okay? There are no decimals or fractions allowed. So in order to do that, we will have to multiply by the denominator to get rid of them, okay? Then the last thing, I'm going to change that, sorry. The last thing is the leading coefficient of x must be a positive number. So this means your a value in front of x must be a positive. So you can't have something like negative 2x plus 3y equals 6. That would not be allowed. So we would have to divide by negative 1 to change that front number and make it positive 2x. And then everything else would become its opposite. Okay? So those are your 3 rules. X and y together, no decimals or fractions, and that a value in front has to be positive. So let's practice it. Okay? Rewriting into standard form. Again, we want it to be ax plus by equals c. So we want x and y together. So your first step every time is going to be move x by adding or subtracting. Okay, so this one is a negative x, which means I'm going to add it over. Okay, and again, we are not actually adding anything. We're just moving it. So 2x plus y equals 3. I started with x because it's ax plus by. So in that order. Okay, so let's check our rules. X and y are together, so that one's good. No decimals or fractions, so that one's good. And the leading coefficient is a positive, so we're all good. This would be my answer in standard form. Okay, next one. Again, moving x first. I have to subtract it this time because it's a positive. I'm going to start by writing it with the x. Y is positive, 9 drops. Now, x and y are together. There's no decimals or fractions, but our front number, our leading coefficient, is a negative, and we can't have that. So to get rid of it, we divide by negative 1 all the way across, or multiply, same thing. And then that would leave you with the negatives gone, and everything else becomes its opposite. So negative y and negative 9. Okay. All right, next one, same thing. Move x first. Okay, these are gone. I've got negative 1/4 x plus y equals 5. All right, now 2 problems. The front one is a negative and it's a fraction. So again, we're going to multiply by the denominator, but in order to get rid of the denominator and the negative, we're going to do it all at once. So we're going to multiply by not just 4, but negative 4. And the important thing here is just like in any other equation, what you do to one of them, you have to do to all of them to keep it equal. So this guy is out, and we have negative 4y in the middle, and negative 20 on the end. X and y are together, no decimals or fractions, and that front coefficient is a positive. Okay, so pause the video and try one on your own. We're going to add 3/4 x to the other side. So 3/4 x plus y equals negative 7. This has a fraction, so I'm going to multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. That's gone, and now I'm left with 3x plus 4y equals negative 28. X and y are together, no fractions or decimals, and my front coefficient is positive. Make sure you check all 3 rules before you move on. Okay, so that's writing in standard form. All right, now we're going to graph. And in order to graph in standard form, you have to know the intercepts. And it's not given to you by looking at them, so you have to solve for them. So our intercepts are going to be on the x and the y axis. So we're going to have one of each, okay? The x-intercept is obviously on the x-axis, and the y-intercept is on the y-axis, okay? To find the x-intercept, we always have a 0 in the y, and the y-intercept, there's a 0 in the x, just like we talked about the other day. So to solve for it, we have to let y equal 0 and solve for x. And for the y-intercept, we have to let x equal 0 and solve for y. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. For this guy right here, 3x plus 7y equals 21, we need to know where the line crosses on both the x and the y-axis. So we need the x-intercept and the y-intercept for both of these. So we're going to plug in a 0 for the opposite variable. So if I want the x, I'm going to plug in a 0 for the y, because that's what I want my y value to be if I'm on the x-axis. 7 times 0 would just be 0, so this would be canceling, and I'm left with 3x equals 21. If I divide by 3 on both sides, x equals 7. So my x-intercept is 7 and 0 for the y value. Okay, let's do it for the y. So I have 3 times 0, because I'm plugging in 0 for x this time, plus 7y equals 21. This would cancel, so I'm left with 7y equals 21. Divide by 7, and y equals 3. So my y-intercept would be 0 for x and 3 for the y. Now that you have those, you can come down on your graph. My x-intercept is on the x-axis, so I'm going to go to 7. My y-intercept is on the y-axis, so I'm going to go to 3 on the y. And then you connect your points with the line. And you're all done. Okay, so another way to graph, finding intercepts by plugging in zeros. Okay, let's try it again. 2x minus 0 for the y equals negative 6. This is gone, so 2x equals negative 6. Divide by 2, x equals negative 3. So my x-intercept is negative 3, 0. Let's go to the next one. 2 times 0, plug in 0 for x, minus y equals negative 6. This is gone, so I have negative y equals negative 6. Divide by negative 1, and y equals positive 6. So my y-intercept is 0, 6. Let's graph it. X-intercept is -3, so I'm going to go to -3 on the X. Y is 6, so I'm going to go up to 6 on the Y, and then connect your points with a line. Okay, pause the video and try your own. Intercepts, plugging in zeros. Here we go. 4x plus 5 times 0 equals 40. This is gone. 4x equals 40. Divide by 4, x equals 10. So my x-intercept is 10, 0. Plug in 0 for x this time. 4 times 0 plus 5y equals 40. Those are gone, so 5y equals 40. Divide by 5 on both sides, and y equals 8. So my y-intercept is 0, 8. Now let's graph them both. X is 10, so I'm going to go to 10 on my x. Y is 8, so it's up here. Oops, crooked. Sorry. And there's your line. Okay. Hopefully that's sinking in a little bit. Okay, so switching gears. Now we're going to talk about our two special types of lines, which we did with slope, and it was undefined and zero slope. Okay? Those types of lines are special with their equations as well. So I want you to pay close attention. We have a horizontal and a vertical line for undefined and zero slope. So we call these HOI and VUX to help us remember those. Okay? HOI stands for a horizontal line, and horizontal line is from left to right. This is actually a 0 for zero slope. Okay? And then our Y stands for the equation. So the Y is a Y equals equation, like Y equals 6 or Y equals 2, any type of thing like that. It's a y-intercept because it crosses the y-axis. And you can understand that if it goes left to right, it's going to cross through the y-axis, not the x. Okay? On the other hand, VUX is exactly the opposite. So this would be a vertical line. Vertical lines go straight up and down. Okay? This is undefined slope. Okay? And it's an x equals equation. So it has an x-intercept, and it crosses the x-axis. Okay? So, solving here, super easy. This is your equation. You have to have y by itself, so we divide by 2, and we have y equals 3. Okay? Be thinking, y is in HOI, so I know HOI goes this way on and crosses through the y-axis. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 on the y because it's y equals 3, and my line goes through that point. Okay. Next one, divide by 3. So x equals -2. Again, x is in VUX, and VUX is vertical. Okay, so I'm going to go on the x at -2 and put a point, and my line goes straight through that point, through that axis. Okay, pause the video and try your own. So this one is divide by 3. So y equals -6. Y says HOI, and HOI is horizontal. So I'm going to go to the y at -6 and put a point. And my line goes through that axis, not on top of it, through it. Last one, divide by 4 on both sides, and x equals 3. X means vux, and vux is vertical. Okay, I'm going to go to x, put a point at 3, and my line crosses through that axis. Okay. So, writing equations of lines when they're giving you the intercept is a little bit different. So we have to remember that in order to get the x-intercept of -6 and the y-intercept of 5, they plugged in zeros to an equation. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is multiply your two numbers together to get the answer. So multiply the two intercepts to get the answer, the constant. Okay, so -6 times 5 equals -30. So my answer, my standard form, has to be x plus y equals -30. And I'm looking for what a and b were when we divided and got these numbers. So in order to take -30 and divide it by something to get 5 as the answer, -30 divided by what equals 5? Well, that would be -6. So my y value has to be -6. In order to get this answer for my x, I had to take -30 and divide it by something to get -6. And that would be +5. Okay? So let me get this a little closer. And that would be your answer. Okay? So pause and try that. First step, multiply your two numbers together. So 2 times -8 gives you -16. So I have something x plus something y equals -16. In order to get 2, I had to take -16 divided by something to get +2. So that has to be -8. So my x is -8. This one was -16 divided by something gives me -8, which had to be +2. There is your answer. If you're noticing something, they become the exact opposites of what they are here. This was 5, and x ended up being 5. This was -6, so y was -6. Down here, y was -8. That's what x ended up being. X was +2, and it ended up being 2. So you need to actually flip them around for the opposites and then figure out what the total would be by multiplying them together. Okay, last couple things. Hannah will spend $150 on music festival tickets. Reserved seat tickets cost $25 and general admission tickets cost $10. How can you represent the situation with a linear equation? So we haven't talked about any types of problems that have two different variables, but this would be that example. So you have reserved seats that cost 25 and general seats that cost 10. Okay? If you have two different things happening there, then you must give two different variables because they represent different things. So right now, we have reserve that equals 25 and general that equals 10, but the total of the whole thing is 150. So we have to put those together. 25 reserved plus 10 for the general equals $150 total. And there would be your equation. This is like your AX plus BY equals C.